I know that obviously a lot of people have wanted me to look at this here, and so we're going to watch this.
You said a while ago that 10,000 players, that was your kind of foundation aim. If you could secure 10,000 hardcore players, you would feel safe as an MMORPG. Now, I think World of Warcraft has warped the mindset of a lot of players because they think anything under 10 million is dead. They think anything under 1 million active players isn't an active game, and the general consensus among the player base is 10,000 isn't enough. Do you still believe that 10,000 players is enough? And how many do you think Path of Exile could grow to sustain realistically?
It depends on how many microtransactions there are. 10,000 players, Diablo Immortal, that's millions of dollars.
Great question. And when we initially made that prediction, it was kind of a back of the envelope calculation. In fact, I think I did it on an envelope that I have somewhere still, where basically we expected not to grow the studio past about 15 or 20 people. And
imagine what's happened. I know that there's still people that are hanging on to my argument that I made about Preach. I'm completely right. Every argument I've read in chat about it has been fucking stupid. Just stop trying.
You're running something like that, it costs you $1,000 a day to keep the servers up, and then if you're making $5,000 from your 10,000 average players, you have plenty of money for yourself, and all goes well. You buy Lambos after a few years, and life is good.
Hell yeah!
And that was the calculation we did based on a small studio and a relatively small game. Path of Exile's grown since then. I think that we average, including all platforms, maybe 70 or 80k logged in players at any one time, including the spikes of launch and the depths of the late league where there were fewer people playing.
So it's a 70 or 80,000 average of the game? Holy fucking shit. Oh my god. That's more than what I thought. I actually, dude, I feel like with expansions, yeah, but the expansion, that's part of it, right? And so, this is, 45,000 bots. No, it's probably not that many. That is huge. Oh my fucking god. That's great. Remember, it's on console as well? Yeah.
But I do actually believe that for niche games, a small community like 10,000 is totally enough to sustain it. And it really depends.
I think that's true, too. Absolutely. It just depends on servers. The reason why New World is dead is because they're all on different servers. If all 10,000 people were on 1 or 2 servers, New World would be a lot better game. 100%. It would be a much better game, and it would be literally that simple, man. And so, yeah. Is PoE a niche game, though? Yes, absolutely, it's a niche game. And I think one of the things with PoE, being a niche game, there is an advantage and a disadvantage of the niche game. A niche game, it's harder for it to lose its audience. It's not as susceptible to hype as Warframe or Anthem. I was meant to say Anthem at the beginning. Anthem, World of Warcraft, any of these other games, right? Because they're mainstream games, so they go up and down way more. But also, it's harder for them to reach those high peaks. It's basically, it's harder for them to go to the lows, and it's also harder for them to get to the highs. So yeah, I know that you guys might not know this. I say this occasionally, people might forget. I was a closed beta supporter of Path of Exile in 2012. I love this game. I played it the whole way through. I don't play every season. Sometimes I take breaks. I've taken a break probably now for 6 months, 8 months. But I'm going to play another one probably this season coming up.
Depends a lot on how the game is monetized and also how expensive their server costs are.
True.
I completely get what you mean, that large MMO launches start off with 1 million people playing at any one time, and then it drops down to their sustainable baseline of actual, entrenched hardcore users, and people say game is dead, despite the fact there's 30 or 40,000 people playing simultaneously. And that game will be making good money off those 30 or 40,000 people. As long as they're not planning a $50 million expansion at the same time, they're totally happy with that. So it's entirely fine for games to have lower baseline populations if they design around it. And there's a whole bunch of
design. If they design around it. That's what New World didn't do.
Topics here. We wanted Path of Exile to not feel empty if it was unpopular. And that's why towns are limited to 24 players and you play instances with your friends, because you could honestly have just a few hundred people online. And because you're all jammed into the same areas, you wouldn't really notice the fact that it was quite an empty game.
I really, really wish that in Path of Exile 2, there are more shared spaces. I wish you could inspect players, and I wish that there were more shared spaces. You go into, Oriath or whatever. Not now, right? But, before Cirrus, you go into Oriath and you'd see people around. That was really cool. I love that. I hope they have more of that in PoE too.
Hopefully we don't suffer from that problem, but we designed so that if we did, it wouldn't feel like a ghost town.
I was talking to a few of my friends about the idea that if a game has 1 million players online, you may not necessarily interact with all 1 million. You could probably interact or even see in the world a couple of hundred before it starts to get a little bit laggy and a little bit excessive. So having those hub centres and then the exploration areas that you journey out to me, reminds me a lot of Guild Wars 1, the idea of the centralised community and then expand out. Have you never decided to go back on that idea? Have you never thought maybe the explorable areas should be parts of the open world?
We really like the way we're doing it because it lets us use quite aggressive random generation for these areas. It lets us give you a slightly different experience each time you play through, and that's really good for replayability. And it's cool that you mentioned Guild Wars 1, probably my second favorite game of all time. We modeled our networking architecture around that game. We wanted it so that the idea of the hub towns and coming out of them to areas with your party was basically exactly the same as the Guild Wars 1 architecture. We thought that was entirely a brilliant idea of theirs.
I absolutely love Guild Wars 1. I've been playing it with a couple of friends recently.
So I'll probably watch this full interview in a day or so. I'm not going to watch it today. But I think also a big reason why they don't have more shared world areas outdoors is that, like, you don't want to go, like, they already have this problem with, like, the Trials of Ascendancy, and they fixed it recently with being able to kind of force them to occur. But you guys remember back whenever, you'd play PoE at the start of a league, everybody would be trying to buy, does anybody have the trial of, like, Searing Pain or Piercing Truth or whatever, right? Everybody would do that. And so you don't want to have a situation where people are constantly sitting in their hideout trying to buy or join, a proc gen map that has the, Holy Grail in it, effectively. So yeah, global, it's 820 or 802, whatever it is, right? And so it's important to not have that. I think that's actually the smart way to handle it. And that's probably why they don't want to deal with it. You don't need to clear 6 anymore. You just need to gift. I don't remember, honestly. Like, I haven't played the most recent 2 seasons because I've been streaming. And so, yeah, I'm not really sure. PoE is a good example of how a game isn't dead because nobody streams it and it doesn't have high players. Guild Wars 2, Destiny, and ESO actually have more players on daily than Path of Exile, but people say those games are dead, oddly. Well, that's because Guild Wars 2, Destiny, and Elder Scrolls Online are MMOs. People have a different expectation of an MMO. I think that everybody kind of expects and thinks that it's normal whenever an MMO has, like, the ebbs and flows of, being very popular and then being much less popular. So I think that's why. Whereas Path of Exile, yes, it does matter with how many people are playing. Like, I know, like, if you try to play, like, late league and you're trying to buy stuff or whatever, it can be kind of weird. Like, I love playing the game early league where everybody's first starting off. Like, it's so fun. And so, yeah, you need to try it already. Destiny 2. Maybe one day I will. I've always been, like, a huge fan of, I've been a huge fan of Bungie ever since Halo. So I probably should try Destiny at some point and just see what it's like. And Trade League, yeah, I always play Trade League. I find it to be more interesting. The reason why I stopped liking Diablo 3 is whenever they got rid of trading. I like the idea. What I liked about trading in PoE is the fact that, like, every single thing that you get has value. So, like, if you're not going for a headhunter, you don't care about headhunter, but you drop a doctor or a nurse, right? Which are, like, these special cards you turn into cards that give you headhunter. Like, just for anybody that doesn't know. So if you drop one of those, you can sell that and you can get the item that you do want. And so it makes it to where every type of reward that you get is meaningful. It's not like you're getting 90% garbage and only 10% good. Now, I know that a lot of people like playing solo self-found, and I think that's totally fine. It's a completely different way of playing the game, but this is what I enjoy. It's not ready for EVE Online. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever play that, man. And Sea of Thieves is like this. 25 players per map, 24 players per map. I want to play Sea of Thieves one of these days. I just don't know when that's going to happen. Okay, let's watch the new Channel 5 video, and then after that, I saw there was an Ixiom video about Dragonflight, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the expansion and just kind of get into that stuff, okay? So let's do it. And anyway, let's play D2. Well, D2 is always going to be popular because it was such a popular game whenever it came out. I think it makes sense.